So Kirby
You
Lambert's
ready?
with Montana Historical Society, and he is, would you say, in charge of education there?
Yeah, that's a good, I like to think I am anyway.
And he's already talked to us about dogs. So if you
Right.
are interested, you can always check out the recording on dogs in Montana history on our Rocky website. Give us a call if you don't know how to access that, and we can point you in the right direction. And Kirby, I'll let you take it away with this one.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me and thank the viewers for joining us. I will point out, Maria said some people might be watching this as a recording later, and I will point out that today is actually the day before Thanksgiving, and that might be evident in my talk. Let's see, get the technology working here. So you'll see some references to Thanksgiving, and just start by telling everyone to have a happy Thanksgiving. And as a warning, maybe there are 94 slides in this presentation, but don't be worried. It's a really quick run through Montana history. I don't know if you could hear Betty there, but she's warning you that it's going to be a bumpy ride. Hopefully it won't be too bumpy, but it is going to be kind of quick. So, the number of people in my immediate family when I was growing up. And I'm starting with this number because I think family history is the best kind of history there is. But remember that not all of history is good. And this is, the number of siblings that I had. And I have to move that there. These are the kind of numbers that my dad dealt with. He was a math professor and lectured on numbers like this for 30 years. Some talents are not passed down, however, and this talk I'm giving you right here is the closest that I'll ever get to giving a math lecture. This is the number of living grandparents, great-grandparents, and great-great-grandparents that I had when I was born. And I think this factor had a lot to do with my lifelong interest in history. This is the greatest number of pies that my grandmother ever baked for a single Thanksgiving dinner. Most were pecan and pumpkin, but there was also chocolate, cherry, pineapple, and coconut cream because she wanted to make sure that everyone had their favorite pie. Unfortunately, with all that pie, this is the average number of calories in a Thanksgiving dinner. Including tomorrow, this is the number of Thanksgivings that we've celebrated since it became an official federal holiday in 1863. This is the cost of a Thanksgiving turkey in territorial Montana, according to Historical Society founder and territorial mover and shaker Wilbur Fisk Sanders.
Joyce, or sorry, Kirby, just real quick, could you mention the numbers as you're going through them, just because some can't see them?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay, thanks.
So 1 is the number of men who ate Thanksgiving turkeys while serving as territorial governor of Montana. Excuse me, 10 is the number. I have 2 different screens going here, this might confuse me. 10 is the number of men who ate Thanksgiving turkeys while serving as the territorial governor of Montana. Montana actually had 12 territorial governors, if you include acting governors, but 2 of them served short terms and they didn't hold office during the month of November. 1 is the number of these territorial governors who got drunk and disappeared from a Missouri River steamboat. 14,865 is the number of years before Mars' disappearance that the first humans arrived in the place that is now Montana, according to archaeological evidence. 15 is the average number of dogs that the average family of 5 needed before horses replaced canines as the primary beasts of burden in the early 18th century. 0 is the number of legitimate reasons that I have for showing you a picture of my dog as part of this PowerPoint presentation. 2 is the number of times I'm going to show you his picture anyway. Actually 3, because I lied. But getting back to the topic, between 20 and 30 million is the number of bison with whom those pre-contact dogs shared the North American continent before the arrival of Europeans. More than 24 is the number of hours that a Missouri River steamboat sometimes had to wait while a great brown flood of bison flowed endlessly past. 10 to 12 is the number of weeks it could take for a steamboat to travel the 2,300 miles upriver from St. Louis to Fort Benton. Or, as MHS Senior Archivist Rich Arstad noted, given the fractious nature of the river, it was likely anywhere from 2.5 months to not at all. At least one is the number of times Rich got lost on this 2-hour field trip. 37 is the number of days that Truman Everts spent, quote, in peril after getting separated from his group in Yellowstone in 1870. One of the many perils faced by Everts was hungry wolves. 70 is the number of years that Yellowstone went without wolves from the time they were eradicated until they were reintroduced into the park in 1995. Between 36 and 38 is the rate in miles per hour at which a wolf can run. Between 37 and 39 is the rate in miles per hour at which you'd want to run if a wolf is chasing you. 11 is the number of days that it took John Coulter to run, then walk, from the Three Forks area to the Little Bighorn River after being challenged by a group of Blackfeet Indians to run for his life. 7,000 is the estimated number of Sioux, Cheyenne, and Arapaho who were encamped along the Little Bighorn in June 1876 when Custer showed up looking for a fight. Between 900 and 2,000 is the estimated number of warriors among those people so encamped. 647 is the size of Custer's 7th Cavalry, including 35 Indian scouts who were mostly Crow and Arikara. 3 is the number of drawings in the MHS Museum collection by Curley, who was one of Custer's Crow scouts. 17 is the age at which Northern Cheyenne ledger artist White Bear was imprisoned in Deer Lodge, where he produced the 3 drawings, now also in the museum's collection. 1 is the length of time in years that White Bear spent in prison before being pardoned. Unfortunately, in spite of his pardon and release, White Bear died before the age of 20, most likely from a disease he contracted during his prison stay. 41 is the number of Montanans who were imprisoned for sedition during World War I. Their crimes consisted of such acts as speaking ill of the president or stating that wartime food restrictions were a big joke. I think some of us might be in trouble if we had a sedition law today. 61 is the number of pairs of socks that Maria Drennan knitted for the Red Cross to distribute to soldiers serving overseas during World War I. $1,060.80 is the amount of money that the Cascade County Ladies Auxiliary to the Order of the United Commercial Travelers raised for the Red Cross through the raffle of this quilt in 1918. $18 million is the estimated value of gold in 1860 dollars, taken from the Last Chance Gulch and other diggings around Helena. 365 million is the value of that gold in 2020 dollars. 12.5 cents is the cost of any drink at Ward and Bain's Benton Brewery Saloon in Fort Benton in 1887. Note that they also offered, quote, free lunch every evening. 14 is the number of saloons that Helena had by 1865. 1889 is the year in which Henry Altebrand established the West Gallatin Irrigation Company and recruited Dutch farmers to to raise barley to supply his Manhattan malting company. By the early 1900s, brewers from across the country, including Adolf Coors, purchased their malt from Altenbrand's company. 2 is Montana's ranking as of 2018 in both the number of breweries and beer consumed per capita. Montana is also one of 3 states that continues to lead barley production for brewing. 14 is the number of years that Montanans had to go without taking a legal drink during Prohibition. Montana enacted a statewide ban on alcohol 1 year before the 18th Amendment went into effect nationally. 5 is the number of sober-looking U.S. presidents who served during Prohibition. 5 is also the number of Montana counties named after U.S. presidents. 9 is the number of original counties in Montana Territory. 56 is the current number of counties in Montana. 55 is the number of those Montana counties that have National Register of Historic Places signs from the Montana Historical Society. 1/2 is the number of National Register signs in Roosevelt County, and it's only 1/2 because Roosevelt County shares a sign with Macomb County for the Lewis and Clark Automobile Bridge near Wolf Point. 15,000 is the estimated size of the crowd that attended the opening celebration for the Lewis and Clark Bridge in 1930. It was the first free public crossing of the Missouri River for 350 miles between Fort Benton and Williston, North Dakota. 1912 is the first year that Montana autos were required to have license plates. 1944 is the year in which Montana license plates were made out of soybeans in order to conserve metal for the war effort. 50 is the approximate number of miles of paved highways in Montana in 1928. 7,200 is the approximate number of miles of paved highways in Montana by 1939. That's a 14,000% increase in 11 years. 4,300 is the approximate number of railroad tracks in miles that stitched across Montana by 1910 before automobiles came on the scene. Almost 6 is the number of years that Montana's most famous canine Shep waited at the Fort Benton Depot for his master to return on the train. 1 is the number of great big baked potatoes you needed to make a meal on a Northern Pacific dining car. 39th is Montana's ranking as a corn growing state in spite of the size of the corn they apparently grew in Cascade County. 1 is the number of high schools in Montana that have chosen sugar beeters as their school mascot. And it's the Chinook, in case you're wondering. 13 is the number of high schools in Montana that have chosen dogs as school mascots. Of these, 9 are bulldogs. 10 is the number of state championships that the Malta High School Mustangs have won to make them the winningest high school girls basketball team in Montana history. 1904 is the year in which the Fort Shaw girls basketball team won the world championship in St. Louis. 4 is the number of trips the Salish Indians made to St. Louis in an effort to bring Jesuit missionaries back to the Bitterroot. 125 is the number of years that the Bitterroot has been the Montana state flower since its adoption in 1895. 15 is the number of official state symbols that Montana currently has. Of these, our state soil, SCOBY soil, was the last to be adopted in 2015. 20 is the number of states, including Montana, that have legislatively adopted state soils. 3 million tons is the estimated amount of topsoil that blew off of the southern Great Plains on Black Sunday, April 14th, 1935, in the worst dust storm in US history. 8,000 is the number of outhouses built by the WPA in Montana during the Great Depression. And with the mention of outhouses, I seem to have dug myself into a hole from which I can think of no polite way to continue. So I'll just switch abruptly to the topic of politics and let you decide whether there's any connection between the subject of politicians and outhouses. $650,000 is the amount of money that Representative Fred Whiteside saved Montana taxpayers by uncovering the embezzlement schemes of the first Capital Commission. 104 years is the number of years that the statue Montana sat atop the Capitol Dome before we discovered what her official name is and who the artist was. 7 is the number of Montana communities that initially vied to become the state capital in 1892. 2 is the number of communities in the runoff election held 2 years later. And 1 is the number of those communities that won the runoff election and became the capital of Montana, because there can, of course, be only one capital. Note that the most important thing about this dandy building is the fact that it's about 40 miles from Butte. And that brings us to the number 1, which we all know is the loneliest number. Or is it? For example, if you hung out with the manhunters of the 1870s, you might find yourself pretty lonely since all of these men are dead. But back to the number 1 and Montana's one and only capital city, Helena is also home to Montana's singular state historical society. And how does the society stack up by the numbers? The approximate number of three-dimensional objects cared for by the museum program is 60,000. 8,000 is the approximate number of artworks, also in the museum. 20,000 is the number of items in the MHS library. This includes printed materials like books, maps, pamphlets, and posters. 35,000 feet is the number of feet of unpublished written material in our archives, including things like diaries, letters, and business records. 500,000 is the number of photographs in our photograph archives. And 10 volumes, let's see, the Society's first official publication was the Contributions to the Historical Society of Montana. And of those, we published 10 volumes over a 67-year period. 1951 saw the publication of the first issue of Montana, the Magazine of Western History. And since then, we've published 276 issues over a 69-year period. Infinity is the number of things you could learn if you read every issue of Montana, the Magazine of Western History, or came in and did research in our archives. And although we do have plenty of answers here, we also have some mysteries, which brings to mind the most mysterious number in Montana history, which is 3777. And I'm the only person who actually knows without a doubt what the meaning of that number is. And I was going to share it with you today, but I didn't want to get in trouble with the Highway Patrol, which added the Vigilante Code to their uniform patches in 1956 when Montana highways had no speed limit. Today, of course, the maximum speed limit is 80, and 8 is the number of states, including Montana, which have 80-mile-per-hour speed limits. But just because you can drive that fast doesn't mean that you should. Unless, of course, there's pie waiting for you at the end of your journey. And here we have Danish immigrants gathered near Dagmar in 1923 to celebrate their love of pie with a song that was written by Edgar Siverud. And I'll just read it for you. I'm going to spare you. I will not sing it because that would be not pleasant for any of us. But his song is entitled, I Like My Pie. And that's what these words are on that banner there. I have a secret I will tell. I like my pie. I like my pie. Of all good things that cast a spell, I like my pie. I like my pie. In memories dear, I love to dwell. Its sweet appeal to taste and smell. Of all my joys, there's none so well. I like my pie. I like my pie. Yes, I do. So I think we know how Edgar felt, at least about pie. So from Edgar and me and the entire Montana Historical Society, we hope that there's plenty of pie on your list of things to be thankful for tomorrow. And with that is the kind of the end of this run through the numbers, but I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has some.
I have one, Kirby.
Okay.
That was really cool.
Oh, thank you.
I missed a couple of things because of course Liberty got home, but
Oh,
I
good.
want to know when they made the license plates out of soybeans, what was the texture like and how long did they last against the weather?
Well, back then they changed the license plate every year, so they only had to last a year.
Oh, the actual plate. Because they didn't have
changed the plate. And it's like a really hard, you would never know by looking at it or feeling it. It's like a really hard, I would say it feels kind of like masonite or something. It seems really hard. I don't know actually how long they lasted in the weather. Like I said, they only needed to last 1 year, but there are stories about people that lost their license plate because the goat ate them or that sort of thing.
So have you seen one, Kirby?
Yes, yeah, we have that one is the one that I have in the photo is in our museum collection here.
Very cool. I was wondering the same thing. I was like, do you just throw them on your compost pile afterwards? Or?
I guess, yeah. Or feed them to the goats.
Exactly. Okay, so my question would be, what is the point of that, having a state dirt?
I don't know. I think, and in Montana's case, it's a little surprising, but I think it's a nod to agriculture and how important agriculture is to the state because it is a really rich type of soil that is up from, like I said, the Scobie area. And I think it like I say, it pays homage to the importance of agriculture and how important dirt is to agriculture. And as that photo of the dust storm on Black Sunday illustrated, you don't appreciate something like dirt until it all blows away.
That would have been awful. I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to grab Joyce on the phone and see if she has questions too.
Okay.
What year did they start? So Kirby, Joyce went to Thompson Falls and stayed in the dormitories. And during the Depression, she says that they were $15 a month to stay in the dormitories. She's curious if you know when those dormitories opened up.
I do not. I can try to find out for her if she likes.
She would love that.
Okay. And these were like high school dormitories or?
Yes.
Okay. I will see what I can find out.
I don't think I've heard a presentation done in this style before, so I really enjoyed just the rattling off of numbers
Oh,
and the $30 for a turkey. Like,
yeah, which was pretty expensive, for,
I think $20 for a turkey right now is
yeah,
bad, and
yeah.
they did.
I would think you wanted to have a turkey pretty bad to be able to pay that for it. So,
They probably had to bring them all the way up from Salt Lake or something like
right.
that. Okay. Well, Michelle stole my question about the soybean plates, and then I had the question about the dirt. And I'm going to have to run back through this because there was one section where I had to step away briefly, and I want to listen to that again. But Michelle, do you have anything else you want to say or ask?
No, the other thing I wrote down was the thing about the dirt as well, because I thought that was really odd. Oh, the big dust storm. What was that called again?
Was Black Sunday?
It is Sunday. Okay. That sounds like it's. Hey, I'm not muted anymore. So that sounds like there's got to be a PBS special about that out there somewhere.
There is a really good, on the Great Depression and the dust storms, the Dust Bowl, and Ken Burns did it for PBS, and I am blanking out what it's called, but it's a very good one of Ken Burns.
Oh man, dude, is he not a rock star?
He is, yes.
I love the thing on the Roosevelts that he did. I've watched that repeatedly.
Yeah, no, he's really good, and this is a good one. And this is an aside beside the point, but my mother grew up in a small town in the Texas Panhandle called Follette, and that's one of the towns they talk about in the documentary. And one of the people they interviewed was her English high school teacher. So that kind of beside the point, but kind of neat personal connection.
It is fun when those coincidences happen.
Right.
Okay. Well, I think we should stop the recording now, Michelle, if you haven't. There, I did it. No, I didn't.